The first time I saw the picture, I didn't understand. It was a selfie, grainy and dark, sent from a burner phone. My wife Sarah was laughing, her head thrown back, a man's arm draped possessively around her shoulder. His face was obscured, but I recognized the watch on his wrist. It was a distinctive silver chronograph, the same one I'd noticed on the hand of Detective Miller, the man who'd been assigned to my case. My case, a hit and run 6 months ago that left me with a shattered leg and a pile of medical bills. Miller had closed it in less than a week. "No leads, no witnesses, Mr. Hayes," he'd said, his voice dripping with bored sympathy. "These things happen in a city like Chicago. Just bad luck, bad luck." I stared at the photo, the pieces clicking into place with a cold, sickening clang. The late-night work emergencies, the sudden, unexplained gifts she'd received, her growing impatience with my slow recovery. It wasn't bad luck. It was a setup. And the man paid to find justice for me was sleeping with my wife. If you love stories about getting even, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and stick around, because this is just the beginning. The early days of our marriage felt like a different lifetime. We met in college, 2 kids with big dreams in the Windy City. Sarah was brilliant, ambitious, a rising star in her marketing firm. I was a graphic designer, happy in my own quiet, creative world. We bought a condo overlooking Lincoln Park, filled it with art and laughter. I thought we had it all, but my accident changed things. The long days of physical therapy, the mounting debt, the frustration, it chipped away at me, and I could see it chipping away at her patience. "Alex, you have to push yourself harder," she'd say, her voice tight with an irritation she barely tried to hide. "We can't live like this forever." She started staying out later, her phone always face down on the nightstand. When I asked who she was with, it was always just coworkers, her eyes never quite meeting mine. She made me feel like a burden, a broken toy she was tired of fixing. The man I was became a ghost in my own home, haunting the hallways of a life that no longer felt like mine. The anonymous text was my wake-up call. Didn't know who sent it, and I didn't care. It was the proof I needed that I wasn't going crazy. My mission became singular: gather evidence. I used my design skills, the ones Sarah now dismissed as a hobby, to my advantage. I bought a tiny GPS tracker, the size of a quarter, and tucked it deep inside the lining of the passenger seat of her car. I installed discrete listening devices in our living room and bedroom, the kind that looked like simple USB chargers. The first recording I listened to was like a punch to the gut. It was them, Miller, and Sarah, in our bed. Their laughter echoed in the room where I was supposed to feel safe. "He's so naive," Sarah said, her voice a cruel mockery of the one that used to whisper loving words to me. "Still thinks you're trying to find the guy who hit him." Miller's smug laugh sent a shiver of ice down my spine. Poor guy. Let him have his hope. Keeps him occupied while we're occupied. He went on to describe how he'd intentionally buried the case file, ignoring a partial plate number from a traffic cam near the scene. He hadn't just failed to find my attacker. He had actively protected him, sat there in the dark, my hands clenched into fists, listening to them tear my life apart. The grief was a physical weight, but underneath it something else was stirring. A cold, hard resolve. They had humiliated me. They'd underestimated me. Now, they were going to pay. I spent the next month living a double life. To Sarah, I was the same moping, recovering husband. I'd ask about her day, nod along to her lies, and limp back to my office to continue my work. In reality, I was building a fortress of evidence. The GPS tracker showed her car parked outside a cheap motel near O'Hare every Tuesday and Thursday. The listening devices captured every sordid detail of their affair. Every time they mocked me, every time Miller bragged about his power as a cop. I hacked into our shared cloud account, something she'd long forgotten about, and there it was, a hidden folder. Pictures of them on a weekend trip to Lake Geneva. The same weekend she told me she was at a marketing conference. Receipts for expensive dinners, hotel rooms, jewelry all paid for from a credit card I didn't know she had. The final piece was a video. Miller, in his uniform, in our living room, kissing Sarah against the wall, my wedding portrait hanging just over his shoulder. I had everything. Audio, video, financial records, GPS data. It was a comprehensive, undeniable portfolio of their betrayal. But just exposing the affair wasn't enough. Not for what they did. Miller hadn't just cheated with my wife. He had obstructed justice and betrayed his oath. He needed to lose everything. And Sarah needed to watch it happen. The day of our 10th anniversary, I told Sarah I had a surprise for her. I'd booked a table at our favorite restaurant, the one where I proposed. She was thrilled, probably thinking I was finally making an effort to win her back. She put on her best dress, the one I knew Miller had bought for her. "You look beautiful," I said, and for the first time in months, I meant it. She looked like a perfect, polished lie. At the restaurant, I handed her a beautifully wrapped gift. "Happy anniversary," I said. She opened it, her smile faltering as she pulled out a simple USB drive. "What's this?" she asked, confused. "It's a trip down memory lane," I told her. "Everything from the last 6 months, it's all there. The motel visits, the work emergencies, your little trip to Lake Geneva." Her face went pale. "And your conversations. Is every single word. You should really hear how you sound when you're laughing about my leg, Sarah. It's quite a performance." Her hand trembled as she dropped the drive on the table. "Alex, save it," I interrupted, my voice low and steady. "Now, I'm not the only one who got a copy. See, I also sent one to your boss. And to the marketing VPs at your company's biggest rival, I hear they love a good story." I paused, letting it sink in. And of course, a special delivery went out to the Internal Affairs Division and the Civilian Office of Police Accountability. Detective Miller's career is over. His pension, his reputation gone. I even sent a copy to his wife. I figured she deserved to know who her husband really is. The color drained completely from Sarah's face. The arrogant, confident woman I knew was gone, replaced by a terrified stranger. Tears welled in her eyes. "You've ruined me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "No," I said, standing up from the table. "You ruined us." I just held up the mirror. I walked out of the restaurant and didn't look back. I didn't need to. I had already won. The next few weeks were a blur of headlines. Decorated detective fired for gross misconduct and obstruction of justice. A rising marketing executive fired for ethics violations. Their worlds crumbled, just as they had crumbled mine. I sold the condo, moved out of Chicago, and started over. I never heard from Sarah or Miller again. I didn't need to. Sometimes I still think about that anonymous text, the one that started it all. I never found out who sent it. Maybe it was Miller's wife. Maybe it was a rival of Sarah's at work. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the universe balancing the scales. Some nights when the city is quiet, I find myself wondering what really happened on that road 6 months ago. And if I'll ever truly know who was behind the wheel,